We will now continue chapter 4, and this is the part 3 and the last video of this chapter. We will discuss about the Mansabdari system. So friends, the Mughals, they recruited the diverse bodies of the people, meaning they recruited the people or officials from the various backgrounds. And those who joined Mughal service, they were enrolled as Mansabdars. Okay, they were the noble class of the Mughal Empire. So Mansab means position or a rank. Just you can compare it with the joining of the government service after clearing UPSC, just like you join at some post according to the UPSC rank. So it was the imperial system, imperial service introduced by the Akbar. So Mansabdari system was introduced by Akbar to regulate the imperial services, and under this system the ranks, salary and military responsibilities were fixed. Just compare it with the position or post when you join after the UPSC. So next the concept is Jat and Sawar. So Jat indicate the number of the troops or soldiers which a Mansabdar was expected to maintain. What is Sawar? It indicated the actual number of horses under the command of a Mansabdar. Okay, it was the military responsibility. For example, a Mansabdar holding 1000 Jat and 500 Sawar had the rank of 1000. Hence, rank and salary they were determined by Jat. Higher the Jat, the more prestigious was the noble's or Mansabdar's position in the court, and larger was his salary. Next, what is Jagirdar? So Mansabdars they received their salaries as revenue assignments. They did not receive in the cash. Okay, and these assignments were called Jagirs. These were basically, you can say, land, which were something like iktas under the Delhi Sultans that we have read in the previous chapter. So what is revenue assignment? They only had rights to the revenue of their assignments, that is Jagirs, which was collected for them by their servants, while the Mansabdars or the nobility they served in some other part of the country. Just recall from earlier chapter that Muktis or military commanders they resided on their land and iktas for collecting the revenue. So this is an NCERT question. Just pause the video and read the answer. So what is Akbar and Jahangir's management of revenue system? What was the difference between them? Now we will read. In Akbar's reign, these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansabdar. By Aurangzeb's reign, this was no longer the case, and the actual revenue collected this was often less, and there was also a huge increase in the number of Mansabdars, which meant a long wait before they received a Jagir. These and other factors they created a shortage in the number of Jagirs. As a result, many Jagirdars they tried to extract as much revenue as possible while they had a Jagir. Aurangzeb was unable to control these developments, and hence peasantry suffered tremendously. So this was the difference. Now what are zamindars? So see friends, the main source of income that was available to Mughal rulers was tax on the crop produce of the peasantry. Hence the land revenue it was very important, and taxes on the crop it was the source of revenue. In most places peasant paid taxes through the rural elites, that is the headman or local chieftain. So these collectively intermediaries were called zamindars. Okay, they were either local headmen or powerful chieftains, or the what is a chieftain? Leader of the particular tribe. Okay, so can you solve this NCERT question now? What was the role of Jamindar in Mughal administration? Next topic is Japt. See friends, it was the revenue system under the Mughal Empire. Akbar's revenue minister Todermal, he carried out a careful survey of crop yields and prices and areas cultivated for a 10-year period. Okay, on the basis of this, tax was fixed. Each province it was divided into revenue circles, and they had to pay taxes according to this system. Okay, it was prevalent in those areas where Mughal administrators they could survey the land and keep very careful accounts. So hence you can understand the importance of these taxes, that the careful survey had to be carried out so as to maintain the accuracy, and proper salary has to be paid to all the receivers. So this was not possible. Okay, this survey was not possible in provinces such as Gujarat and Bengal because their zamindars were powerful, and Mughal Empire felt that the exploitation could drive them to the rebellion. Now we will read about the Akbar's policies. Okay, the empire was divided into provinces which was called Subaz. It was governed by a Subedar. Okay, and empire also had a financial officer called Diwan. Now, who were the nobility in Mughals? Okay, Mansabdars they formed the bulk of the Mughal nobility. They were the largely public servants. Akbar's nobles they commanded large armies and had access to large amounts of revenue. While they were loyal, the empire functioned efficiently, but by the end of the 17th century, many nobles had built independent networks of their own. Their loyalties to the empire were weakened by their own self interest. Now friends, before moving on further, let us learn about these two terms, bigots and dogma. So an individual who is intolerant of another person's religious beliefs or culture is called a bigot. And who is dogma? What is dogma? A statement or an interpretation declared as authoritative with the expectation that it would be followed without question. Now just learn about this concept, suli kul or universal peace. Okay, so Akbar's interaction with people of different faiths made him realize that religious scholars who emphasized rituals and dogma were often bigots. Okay, so they had very adamant point of view on their religious beliefs. Okay, their teachings, they created divisions and disharmony amongst his subjects. This eventually led Akbar to the idea of suli kul. This idea of tolerance did not discriminate between the people of different religions. Instead, it focused on a system of ethics, honesty, justice, and peace that was universally applicable. So, this principle of governance was followed by Jahangir and Shah Jahan as well. So, how were the debates with religious scholars important in the formation of Akbar's ideas on governance? This is an NCERT question. See, Akbar's interaction with the people of different faith made him realize that the religious scholars who emphasized ritual and dogma were often bigots. We have read this. Okay, hence he formed the idea of universal peace. Next question, how important was the income from land revenue to the stability of Mughal Empire? That we have read earlier. Just pause the video and read this answer. Why was it important for the Mughals to recruit mansabdars from diverse backgrounds? Now this is an important question, friends. Mughals expanded their empire by defeating their opponents. However, they never humiliated them. But it was difficult to keep this balance all the time. Hence, they recruited mansabdars from diverse backgrounds so as to maintain control over different regions by letting the people of warrior class to participate in the running of imperial services.